Tom, how are you?
Good.
Are you going to Hawaii over break?
No, I haven't been in a couple of years. So hope to get back one of these times. Usually try to make it when we're going that direction for some other reason. But,
Yeah.
Um, staying local.
Yeah, I don't think we're going anywhere. We might take a couple day trips, but we're, really been having a lot of trouble selling the house. We're still trying to sell the house back now. So that's really not what everybody is doing. But,
Right.
praying that this holiday season, so back home, we have a really, really big snowbird season.
And that's
this
the time
This
that
is the time, once you get after Thanksgiving is when
people are there and interested.
the population of my hometown increases by like 70%. That's how many of the people don't live there all year.
Wow.
So this is when a lot of people are looking for either to live there permanently or somebody's looking to buy a rental, but I don't care what they live in.
Just long as, yeah, just traffic down there.
Because I don't want to do that. I have no interest in people. I don't have the money or the time.
Right, that's the thing, yeah, I grew up sort of northern Palm Beach County, that traffic's crazy, like anytime this time of year, we're going down there, 'cause my dad's and my wife's dad are down there, but doesn't feel like where I grew up, especially that time of year. In fact, I'd rather go in the summer when it's 1,000 degrees and at least it's not as crowded.
Well, in Allegiant, it's one of the smaller airline companies. They put a ton of money into our really small local municipal airport. And it's like quadrupled in size. And they put, I don't know how many tens of millions of dollars into a huge, like all-in-one resort right on the harbor.
Is that a good thing?
What's definitely different, like, so it's just changing the whole dynamic of
Yeah.
the hometown. We were traditionally a very blue collar retirement community. People had more money, they would go to Sarasota,
Right.
they would go down to Naples.
Right.
They wouldn't
Not-
stay,
not
they wouldn't
anymore.
stay in my hometown, you know what I mean?
East Oahu. The place we lived and built in the 70s, but it's still like, this used to be farmland and, which is hard to imagine Hawaii, anything being farmland, there wasn't pineapples in the middle.
Right.
And I kind of learned my lesson, so I go back down to Palm Beach County and I wanted to complain. I'm like, you know what, I'm that guy. Everyone goes somewhere and moves into someone's, field that they used to play in.
Yeah, until the early 90s, my hometown, there was a big developer that came in and they built along two of the main thoroughfares because the city never incorporated. And it was called General Development, and they came in and they did all the infrastructure. And they built basically 4 models of houses. They were between 800 and 1,100 square feet, and they were all exactly the same. There was that, and they did that through my entire hometown.
Yeah.
And then they would sell them. This was in the like mid-50s, early 60s. And there was about like 6,000 or 8,000 houses they did like that. And it stayed like that until
It sounds pretty
the
excessive.
early 80s.
Yeah.
And then it just. So then we moved there in 1985, and then it just went bonkers.
Yeah.
I'll do these here. I'm gonna start the sheet off then. I didn't know, today, guys, do you want to talk about scheduling beyond today? Or do you guys want to wait? We can do it over email. I don't know if you guys know like what your availability is going to be like in the spring.
Yeah, we don't have that set up for our team yet, okay, so we're happy to do it in email, it's on my list to do, to set out a way to meet for our
Okay.
team.
Yeah, that's fine.
So,
Do you have a target week that you want to start back up so I can make sure that we plan? Even if we don't know the day and timing, just so I can let my team know, like, we want to start the second week of January, we want to start the third week of January.
Um. Probably the third week, I'm gonna be out the second week of January anyways,
Okay.
so no
Alright.
use starting there.
That's just good to know.
Yeah.
'Cause we, in general, we can,
Yeah, and if we come up with plans for like the second week actually works better, because we have other problems, I'll email and we'll figure that out. Okay, are we good to get started on?
we are, yeah.
Okay, we're good over here, so,
Do you guys have any for today?
we do have some,
Okay.
so.
We have 8. We're happy to let you go first, or if you want to go first, either way is fine with us.
We can go first,
Okay.
ours aren't gonna take very long, I don't think.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull these out here, and I just, I wanna preface these by, kind of summarizing, we've had a lot of discussions outside of bargaining, trying to figure out our next steps, as I said we're going to do. And at the end of the day, we as a team, we come to this table to bargain. We come to discuss the issues that we identify are present for GAs, and we come ready to solve those issues. That's our goal when we come to this table. We know in doing so that we're gonna have to find compromise. Neither side is gonna get what they ideally want, and we have to come in here and say, you know, there are competing interests, there are competing goals, and our job is to balance them. That's why we're at this table. Every time we give you guys a proposal, I mean, we put hours into it. We meet each week, we have discussions, and we go over every word. We debate the pros and cons. At the end of the day, we come to the table with proposals, not that we think are gonna make ourselves the happiest, but we think will be the next step towards that eventual compromise. Even if it's not what we're gonna end up settling on, we think it's the next step. And it's not an easy task. It takes a lot of time out of our team. And when we met last week, we were left hanging, for lack of a better word. We didn't receive proposals that we felt do as we did and try to work towards that common goal. Instead, we were kind of hit with that stone wall. We were hit with an absolute refusal to bargain. You did bargain, but you know, refusal to bargain, a refusal to discuss and solve these issues. And to be quite frank, I keep using the word disappointing when we have these discussions, but it's really, I think disrespectful is a better word. It's not only disrespectful to our team, but it's disrespectful to GAU as an entity, to all GAs who have to deal with these issues, the GAs that came in and discussed and said, we have these real issues. And I think, to be quite frank, disrespectful to the University of Florida. By refusing to, you know, discuss these issues and solve these issues by, you know, giving us this brick wall, by continuing to pay grads wages that make it hard to pay rent. I mean, we work to sell the University of Florida down the river just to save a few bucks. I mean, there's no incentive for grads to come and choose UF if they know that this is how grads are chosen. There's no motivation for current grads to continue to lift up the University of Florida with our blood, sweat, and tears. There's just no motivation at all. And, you know, this is a lot to say that, you know, being hit with the brick wall is not gonna make us change our positions. It's not gonna make us bargain with ourselves, which I already said we weren't gonna do. I mean, I've had to now schedule emergency meetings with some of our lawyers, who have, to be frank, are also, you know, kind of disappointed in this behavior. I mean, in the words of one of our lawyers, he said, the University of Florida are not only skirting as close to a ULP as possible, but they are openly inviting impasse. And I know that, you know, I'm not saying the University of Florida is doing those things, but I'm saying that we're not far off from getting to an impasse moment, especially when we're brickwalled in this way. And I'm tired of going through this process every week of trying to instill and get grads to say that these problems exist, because obviously both sides know that these problems exist. I mean, neither of us are stupid on the side of the table. I'm not insinuating that. Grads come, they tell us problems exist, they do exist. I'm tired of giving proposals that make this next step and, you know, hoping that you guys look at those proposals, because even though I know you look at them, most of the time it feels like that's just so you can cross them out and go back to your previous proposal. It doesn't feel like our words are being heard and that we are actually working towards a compromise. And it's aggravating and it's tiring. And I'm glad that my team is as strong as they are and as stubborn as we are, and we're gonna keep doing this. And we're not at that end point yet, but we're not really excited with what the future holds here. So we have 3 proposals for you this week. And I think they're gonna be really simple. So we have Article 3, which we've discussed a lot, and we're willing just to TA as close to current contract language as possible. We have Article 5, where we haven't discussed in several months. We're willing to TA that based off your last proposal. And we have Article 28, which we're not ready to TA, but we've made some changes to it, and we think that they are agreeable changes. I'm gonna send those to you in your email. I also have printed out copies.
Okay.
But That is, to be frank, where we're at, so. There are a couple of Article 3.
Thanks.
A couple Article 5s. And here are a couple 28, and 28 are the ones where you should note changes, as they are. If there's anything in 3 and 5 that are different from what we discussed last time, the text that is printed should be the correct version, and any changes should have been modified, but I don't think there were any. So let me open 28 here, and we can have a little bit further discussion on this, because this is one where, we made changes to it.
Austin, I don't mean to interrupt you. Can I just ask, did you happen to send those also to Shane and Judy in your email?
Let me check here.
I can.
Yes.
Okay, good. Thank you.
I don't think I got it to Judy, so Judy,
Okay.
Judy would need it for it, yeah.
Thanks.
Okay, and then we share this for people on Zoom as well for 28.
Starting with 28.
Yeah, I mean, 3 and 5 are, we're ready TOs whenever, we can have a discussion on them, but I don't think it's too much. It's just based off your guys' last proposals. 28, it's kind of weird. I tried to clean up a little bit to make it as clear as possible for some of these things. So the changes are, if you adopt a new regulation or amendment, policy to any regulation, policy, or resolution, and that has a direct and substantial impact on any provision of this contract, then we will do these things, we will bargain, we will bundle the substance of the change regulation policy unless such a change is a management right that impacts the provision of the contract, in which case will impact the change that would be bargained. So we're kind of separating these 2 separate things. And then, in section 3, we're just, getting rid of that last half of the sentence there. It's obviously it's an article that interacts with a lot of other ones, but.
So, and this is, you've shown in black, we've sort of already agreed to, is that, so you're showing just the changes in,
Yeah,
this is a wholly new article, right?
this is a wholly new
Yeah, it's a
article.
wholly new article.
Black should be what we've agreed to in the past.
Gotcha.
And obviously this is when we're gonna have to go through each word anyways at the end
No,
of it.
100%.
And then, most of the changes showed up properly when I was downloading it, but any provision in this contract should also show up in red, but it just showed up differently, so I just
Whatever, yeah.
highlighted that to make sure it showed up for you guys, to show that that was the
Okay.
change.
Can I ask a question on 28(1)B?
Yeah,
So, with respect to a resolution, can I just ask why the inclusion of resolution is there?
resolution in a lot of bodies is a non-binding sort of thing,
Right.
but we're not sure throughout all of the processes of the University of Florida if there's a version of a resolution that could be binding in that way. So if there's a resolution that does have a binding impact, then this would cover those.
Okay, it's something we would look, again, I'm just not aware of it. I'm not aware of us passing a lot of resolutions, but even in the resolutions we do pass, I'm not sure how they would have a direct and, I'm just wondering if you had an example or you had thought about it a lot, like,
Not an
because a
example.
direct and substantial impact, I'm not sure how a resolution would do that, like conceivably, but maybe there's an example.
I don't have a direct example. It's more of a sort of, we don't know if the University of Florida has a built-in policy where resolutions could have a direct impact. We're like,
Gotcha.
let's include all of the options there.
More of the possibility if it were to, not because you have a specific
Yeah.
example, okay,
Or just to make sure we're covering, making sure everything is in there.
okay. We open on the contract and. Substance of which. You guys have any more questions on this one? No. Okay. Shane, do you have any questions on this one, or Judy?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you.
And then if you would like to discuss 3 and 5, we can, a little bit to make sure if there's any questions, we can cover those, but.
Are they just the most recent proposals that we had talked about?
Yes, those should be, your latest proposals.
Okay, so we can, I mean, we don't have to sit there and read them and compare them. I mean, we can, we can go ahead and do that. And then just come back and maybe TA them next time we get together,
That sounds good, yeah.
rather than, sitting here and watch us, count it out, look at all the words and everything.
Yeah, and if there are any discrepancies, I'm happy to
Yeah.
talk about this, make sure we
Okay.
get those fixed, but,
Great. Thank you.
yep, and that's what we have.
Okay, so as I had said previously, I did have a question, and look, no pressure, obviously, you guys had other stuff you're working on. Are there other things you need from us on 4, or you think that might be one that you might have next time we get together, or are there more questions we need to tackle?
I don't think there's any questions, I think it's one we'll have to spend some time working
That's fine,
on.
I mean, it's a super involved article, there's been so many changes back and forth, that's perfectly fine.
Yeah, so I anticipate us having it when we meet next.
Great, okay, let me go ahead and send you 8. Which is what we have. So, the big thing that we wanted to change about 8 was, we're proposing switching it from 8 weeks to 12 weeks. Increasing the amount of paid leave we're offering. I want to point out in 8.1, we are requesting the removal of sibling, but not sibling in a legal dependent relationship. So it's an important distinction that I want to make sure that we're making here. It would not, you would still be allowed to employ it for a sibling with which you have a legal dependent relationship, just not a sibling who's just a sibling with whom you do not have that relationship. But there's also some standardization of going back and forth between employee and GA, which you'll see throughout lines 13, 14, 18, 27, 28, even on 35. But you'll note in line 35, where we're suggesting changing from 8 weeks of paid leave to 12 weeks of paid leave in a 24-month period as opposed to a 12-month period. And what we're trying to do is offer GAU the benefit that is offered to similarly being offered to other employees. We don't want you to be offered a lesser benefit that's being offered to the other employees. This is an effort to align that. And again, go from 8 weeks to 12 weeks, with the 2 considerations being that a non-dependent relationship sibling would be removed in the definitions, and that the rolling period would go from 12 months to 24 months. There is not a change to 8.4 regarding bereavement. Our thought there is still giving 4 paid days to everyone and then access to an additional 6 unpaid. I know that that is not what you all are asking for in that respect, but hopefully you will consider the additional paid leave time that we're proposing for you all.
Why the removal of sibling?
So again, the idea would be that we would bring the different leave programs into alignment so that there's not different leave types for the different employee groups. This is a change that we're also suggesting to the other ones. And that is the definition that is currently being used by the other groups as well.
Can you be more specific? So you're
Sure.
saying that you want to change it so that it aligns with others, but then you're also making this change to others?
Well, depending on the group, yeah, there's different changes that are going on across the different programs. Right now, the programs are actually different across the different employee groups. We're attempting to make them all the same,
Okay,
but we don't want you to get, our proposal is not to have you getting less paid leave than the other groups would be getting.
why not add siblings to the others?
Because it doesn't meet, in a general sense, it doesn't meet you guys don't qualify for FMLA, but it doesn't meet the FMLA definition of immediate family is the practical answer. You guys you don't qualify for FMLA anyway. But we would want the criteria for accessing this paid leave to be the same as the other groups.
And then I also have so I get that we would be entitled to 12 weeks of paid leave within 24 months. But
Right.
before we had 8 weeks of paid leave in 12 months, which means that the year after we could also get 8 weeks if the case,
If the case presented itself,
yeah.
correct.
which kind of is more paid leave.
100% correct. For somebody who would qualify twice in 2 consecutive years, they would actually qualify for less. But on average,
Mhm.
the overwhelming majority average, this would entitle people who only take it once in that period of time to 50% more leave. I mean, if you were to do the entire data analysis, I think you would find very clearly this is an increase to the benefit overall.
Mhm.
Most people are not experiencing this type of sort of medical and or other hardship, this consecutively. Like I said, it may not be of interest to you, that's perfectly fine, but we wanted to at least put it on the table for your consideration.
And then, I mean, we've been bargaining this for like a while.
Mhm.
How is the change like happening now?
What do you
I
mean?
feel like, I mean, I don't know, like, this is new stuff, right? Like.
Yeah, I
brand
mean,
new stuff.
continuation from the progress we have been making and adding some new elements. So
Mhm.
I mean, what's the change for doing this now this far into the negotiation? process?
There were changes that occurred with other groups, quite frankly, and like I said, we're only gonna, because we're close on getting this done. I would hate to not at least bring it up, and then though this change not be affected, and all those other changes get affected.
Mhm.
And then it winds up, frankly, I think from my perspective, I think we were concerned that the perception would be that we knew and at least didn't put it on the table. Like I said, it may not be attractive to you. If it's not attractive to you, so be it. But we felt that we at least needed to put it on the table for, again, considered consistency.
Mhm.
We felt the accusation would be, oh, so now you're gonna give 12 weeks to everybody except GAU and you won't even,
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, we'll take a look at this and see what we think.
Okay. Appreciate that.
I'm not very excited by the removing of sibling on there. I'll be quite frank. I think
get that.
it's a weakening of the immediate family. And a weakening of when people would take paid leave, but we will see what our members think.
Okay.
Do you have anything else for us? or-
The only other comment that I would say with respect to the opening comments, Austin, which I appreciate and respect, what you had to say. I think the one word that I would add to the comments to qualify what you had said was, further, consider further. I mean, I don't think that if you go back over the last year that we've been bargaining, that there's any item that we have refused to consider. I think what's true, what would make some of your comments true would be to say that we're not interested in considering them any further. I think that's an important qualifying, and I know we disagree on that. But I don't think that it would be true to say that we have not considered all of the articles that have been presented or proposed. I will acknowledge that we have said, we're not interested in talking about this anymore. But I don't think there's been any topic over the last 14 months that we've discussed that we've said, we're not even willing to talk about this, not even once. I mean, almost all the articles, I mean, Article 8's a good example. What do we have, 16 proposals and counter proposals at this point that include substantive changes? I think, and if you look overall at even the stuff that we've already TA'd, I haven't counted the number of substantive provisional changes, but there's more than just a handful. I mean, there's a significant number of substantive provision, I mean, including with 2 brand new articles that previously didn't exist that I think we're getting close to TAing, including one today. So like, I appreciate the fact that you all feel that we're stonewalling, or I think the word was stonewall. I just want to point out for context, this isn't the first or second or fourth or fifth or even 16th time we've gotten together. We've had a significant number of bargaining sessions before we've gotten to a point where we've said, we just don't want to talk about this anymore.
Well, you gave us a counter that was dated April last session. So like, you can say, oh, we've met and we were willing to hear you, but the fact of the matter is that you keep giving us the same proposal after the same proposal, and you keep calling substantive changes things that we don't consider substantive changes, like meeting with your advisor to discuss what your workload should be. That's not a substantive change of the contract.
Okay,
And I think there are several things, I think to your point, there are several articles where we have gone back and forth several times, and we've worked to find them. I think Article 4 is an excellent example of we're still working on it, but we've gone back and forth a lot. But I think, and I think this is especially what was, for ourselves an issue last week, is that some of the articles that you presented and said we are no longer interested in looking further at this were articles where we haven't gotten to that point. Article 13, you returned the first counter proposal you had ever given us, which is, not a discussion where we've had that 7 or 8 times. Even for Article 10, we've only had back and forth 3 or 4 times. And I mean, it's been over time, but it's only been a couple of times that we've gone back and forth. And so.
Article 13,
Article 13, non-discrimination, I think.
we've had an incredible amount of discussion about Article.
We've had discussion, we have not had a ample amount of counter proposals to find that middle ground.
Okay,
You gave us one counter proposal, we gave another one back, and you said we're done and we're going back to our
that's,
first.
that's true.
Right.
That part's true.
And I think for us, that is something where it's like, it's not sure, and we're having that further discussion. We both gave an introductory, let's say where we're at, and you said, well, actually, we're staying here, this is our end, and that's not helping us get to that middle point, and that's why we have to have these tough discussions.
Understood.
Yeah, if there's nothing else, I think we're good.
And then just, we'll tentatively plan on the week of January 20th or January 13th.
January 20th, for the most part,
Okay.
I'll be out of town on the 13th that week, so.
Should I tell my team to tentatively hold the 1:30 time slot, or do you want to just confirm over email?
I will have to confirm, all of our requests will change, so.
All right, fair enough. All right.
Okay, those of you in the Zoom, give us just a minute to get things switched over.